Well, welcome everyone to the Raider roster report. This is Raider Sparks. I'm at you today with a little bigger picture look at the receiver class. We saw a lot of cool stuff at the combine and amazing speed, but I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit. So, a little different video today. This is more for all football fans, not just Raider fans. Kind of take a look at my perspective on the wide receiver class coming up here. Obviously, for the Raiders, it's a big need, but for many teams out there, it's also a big need. So please like, share, subscribe to the video or to the channel. Definitely make comments. Want to hear what all the fans out there have to say about the receiver class and just what teams you're rooting for out there and who you like for your team, that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll get into it. So I wanted to find out, or try to figure out some boom and bust prospects for the draft because the draft it's hard to separate these guys. There's so much straight line speed and actually, it's kind of weird that the agility drills weren't so great, but the straight line speed was amazing. So, kind of wanted to get a little bit better understanding of the class and maybe try to figure out who the potential busts in the draft are and who the potential boomers are in the draft. So I set up a set of metrics to help with it, and really what I did was I tried to comp the players. I have 45 different comps to current players. So I use PFF's top 25 receiver list from 2021, and just to try to keep it current. And I comped the players to my best of ability to those players. I really did it based on the physical, the combine results, that kind of thing, their athleticism, how it compares, how they compare like play style wise, or that I know of. How I think it might translate to the NFL, meaning their college stats, compared to the last year the college stats of the prospects compared to that of the last year's college stats of the current pro on the PFF top 25 list. Then I also wanted to break down further and just let the numbers talk. I used the current pros rookie season, kind of used that as the metrics, and I used the last season of the prospect and kind of put those together and created a list. And it's actually and in some cases, I used the best years just because of injuries, but for the most part, I used the last years, and it kind of tracked pretty well. After I did it, I kind of compared it to what PFF's mock draft has, and it's actually really pretty close to what they have in a lot of cases. But there was definitely some outliers, and those outliers are what I used as sort of the boom and bust prospects. So that's kind of how I did it. I don't want to get into all the metrics because that's kind of just the boring stuff. But in reality, it really helped break down the class and show kind of what I'm getting. And the reason I wanted to use the current pros rookie season because I want to know what I'm getting, especially in the first few rounds, day one and day two picks. I want to come in and contribute right away. So I want to know how that skill set of the player. That athleticism, what they did in college, how it translates to their comp in the pros, and the production the pro got the first year, because I want to get that. I want to get as much production of my draft pick in day one, day two drafts. Then after that, it's changes. You draft in traits, you draft in need, you're drafting all kinds of different things. But the first three rounds, for me personally, I want the guy to come in and compete right away and have a good productive season. So that's the reason I kind of did it like that. But it was very interesting, and I actually did the metrics a few different ways, primarily because of the first player I'm about to talk about, and I can't really figure it out. So let's just get into the first potential bust pick, and that is Drake London. So PFF has Drake London, and I looked yesterday as their number one receiver. The metrics I use has him as the 21st receiver, and I'll get into why. But obviously, the comparison to him for me, the closest comp in the PFF's top 25 was Pittman out of USC. Played the same position, the same offense, and basically Drake London took over for St. Brown or Pittman, St. Brown, and then him. But yeah, they comped the same. So Pittman was the PFF's number 16 in 2021. Had a fine rookie season. Had over 1,000 yards, over 88 receptions, 12.3 average, 6 touchdowns. So you would definitely take that for sure. So I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust. I'm not even saying he's not a first round pick. I'm just saying what the numbers tell me is that he's a potential bust. And the reason I comped him to Pittman, not only because they're the same school, same position, same offense, but it's really striking. So Pittman's rookie season in the NFL, 88 receptions. Drake London, 88 receptions. Pittman's yardage, 1,082 his rookie season. Drake London's last season, 1,088. 12. They both had 12.3 average, 6 touchdowns versus 7. It's amazing the stats, how close they were. In college, the problem is for Drake London is games played. He has 8, 6, and 8. But in college, Pittman's obviously his stats are going to be higher because of the games played. So now buyer beware a little bit. So there's no combine on Drake London, so the comp can change. But but overall, I mean, what are you really getting in this player that's going to be so dynamic to pick him first overall? I ran the metrics several different ways because this was such an outlier. But every time I did different metric, he always fell in the same category. So I'm just like really baffled of why Pittman is the number one overall receiver. The numbers just don't work. And the athleticism. I mean, he was supposed to be 6'5". He's not even 6'4". He's 6'3" and 7/8, 219. Um, so and then Pittman's 6'3", 220. So they're basically the same size. But again, we don't know the athleticism. It could be that the athleticism jumps off the page, and if it does, I mean, if he has similar athleticism to Pittman, he's definitely a first round worthy talent. Because I mean, over 1,000-yard rookie season, 88 receptions and 6 touchdowns. I think you definitely take that all day. I just don't see how this puts you at the number one overall wide receiver. So let's get into the number two potential bust, and that's George Pickens. And I'll be honest with you. So when I was doing the comps, I was shocked that my comp was CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb's number 6 on the PFF's top 2021 receivers list. But it made sense. So CD is 6'2", 198. George Pickens is 6'3", 195. Now, I will say play style is going to be different. I see Pickens is strictly an outside receiver. I think that's where he's best. CD does both, right? He's X, he plays Z, but he does play a lot in the slot. So it's a little different in that regard. But as far as the physical makeup, they both have, you know, right around 32-inch arms. And the one thing that I noticed with Pickens, his hands at 8 3/4, so a little smaller on the hands, but I don't think it definitely matters. I don't really think he has the drop issues, but the 40 time, CD was 4.5, Pickens was 4.47, the vert CD was 34.5, Pickens was 33, and the broad jump 124 for CD and Pickens 125, so almost identical. Then I look at their college stats. CD has 62 receptions. And I used Pickens' freshman stats because everybody said how amazing he was his freshman year, and he had 12 games. So I used those. 40, and he had 49 receptions. CD 1327 yards. Pickens only 727. CD 21.4 average at 14.8. So this comp is not great. CD 14 touchdowns and Pickens 8 touchdowns. This comp isn't great as far as comparison to like what they did in college, the stats, and the reason I wanted to bring this one out is because the physical makeup is so much the same, and I think their attitude, they play with a very, very high level of confidence on the football field, so that sort of translated to me. But it stands out that Pickens has nowhere near the stats as CD did, so maybe the comp is off for this, and I'll wait till the pro day to get more info to see if we can maybe decide some more a different comp for him. But I mean, he came out. PFF has an 8 eight eight number one receiver. I have him at 23, and the stats back it up. He didn't, even though everybody said an amazing receiver he was his freshman year. His stats don't prove that. His stats don't show that. And I had an issue with him. Everybody says he's a great contested ball guy. But I didn't see that on tape. In fact, I saw some passes that were thrown his way that got intercepted that shouldn't have been intercepted. And I kind of was wondering why. Then I looked at his explosiveness. His broad jump's good, but his vert's 33, which is, if you look at a lot of other receivers, it's got a little bit lower than maybe what you would expect. So that could be the issue. But anyways, potential. He's a boom or bust pick, and right now he's looking like a boom type pick. But we'll see. He's got a lot of skill. He probably will be a second round pick, I would assume, and I wouldn't mind taking a shot at it. Just the amount of games played and his college stats don't really match up to his pro comp, what CD did in college. So again, this could be an issue where we need to change the comp because maybe the athleticism is different, but something to keep an eye on. The next one here, the potential boom, is Chris Olave. And the reason why he's on here as a potential boom is really because PFF has him at pick 4 or wide receiver 4, which puts him in the first round. And I will say, so it's easy to do the comp rounds because last year there were 35 receivers taken, 5 each of the first 4 rounds. So basically 5 a round. The year before that, there were 37 players taken. So, yeah. So again, hey, if you're liking the content and everything, please like, share, subscribe, comment. If you like the content enough, I'll do another position group. Just let me know. So yeah, let's get into number 3 potential boom here. And I've comped him to Devontae Smith, which the Draft Network also had him comp like that. I think it makes sense. Chris Olave, 4.39 speed. Devontae Smith didn't do the combine, so we don't know. This is just a projection on that. But one of the whole things holding me back with the broad jump for Chris Olave was 124, but the vert was only 32, and he didn't do any of the agility drills. So that's kind of worrisome to me. That's the reason he's kind of on here as a potential watch, because if I have him at 11, that puts him the very first pick in the 3rd round. Obviously, he's going to probably most likely be a first round pick. It's just something to keep an eye on. His comp though, I mean, Devontae Smith had a far better, obviously far better rookie season or college season, 117 receptions and just stupid numbers, 23 touchdowns. Chris Olave didn't have anywhere near that, but he had a very productive college season. He had 13 touchdowns, and their averages were pretty close. Devontae was 15.9, and Chris Olave is 14.3. So I think these are definitely guys that can run solid routes, but also guys that can stretch the field. I think they'll both be the Z-type receivers because of their weight. They're both 6 foot. Devontae's 170, and Olave is a little bigger, 187, but their arm length is both in the 33s and their hands are 9. So they compare in a lot of different ways. Obviously, you're not going to have the college stats as Devontae Smith, but Chris Olave's stats were very impressive in college. But the translation in the NFL, Devontae Smith had a good, solid rookie season, 64 receptions, 916 yards, 14.3 average, and 5 touchdowns. So the touchdowns came way down, and it could be the system where I know there's a lot of factors involved with it, but given the fact that Olave didn't do the agility drills, the vert's a little low, and his college production was much less than Devontae Smith. So for that play type, is that worthy of a first round pick? Given what we now know as Devontae Smith, would you want to pick a first round receiver with 5 touchdowns? I don't know. The receptions are good, the yards are good, but overall, I'm not sure that he falls into the first round classification yet. We'll see what the agilities are, and maybe the agilities come back different and he gets comped differently, but we shall see. The next possible boom here, and something to keep a close eye on, is Alec Pierce. Actually, the next one I think is, one second here. I think it's a different play. Yeah, number 4 is Khalil Shakir, of a potential bust player, and the reason why he's on here. So PFF has him at 13. I have him at 32, and so I comped him to Chris Godwin. So the speed's very similar, the size is very similar, but the Chris Godwin's rookie season wasn't tremendous, and so that's the reason why Khalil Shakir got bumped down. Plus, the numbers show a little bit, separation, like the Senior Bowl, right? He was having a tough time like separating from guys, so I think he's really high for several reasons, but yeah, that's kind of where he falls in. So like Chris Godwin's 6 foot, Khalil Shakir 6 foot. Chris Godwin's heavier, 209, which is good because you can get off press if you play him in X, but mainly you're going to play him as a slot type receiver, which that's what Khalil Shakir does. But Khalil's only 196, both 9.5-inch hands. And Shakir's arms are 29, kind of like Hunter Renfrow. Godwin's 31, so he's got a little bit more reach. Speed-wise, Godwin's 4.42, Shakir is 4.45. Broad jump is Godwin's 125 and Shakir's 124, so very similar in that regard. One of the biggest reasons why I comped them together, and because I know their play style, they both really play the slot a lot, and one thing I want to see from Shakir, though, is his agility numbers. So Godwin's agility numbers are really good. His 10 splits, 154. His 20 is 258. His 3 cones, 701. His 20 shuttles, 4 flat. And so I want to see those sort of numbers from Shakir, and then possibly even move him more Cooper Kupp status, because his college stats greatly outform Chris Godwin. And so this is where this metric may be off, because Khalil Shakir comps, if his agility comes back like Chris Godwin, I would actually say he's probably more like a third, second round receiver than where I have him based on his college stats, because his college stats were far superior than that of Chris Godwin. So he had 77 receptions, over 1,100 yards, 14.5 average, 7 touchdowns. Actually, Godwin's college stats were pretty good, so it's actually not far off on the comp, because he had 59 receptions, 982, so the yards were a little down, the average was up, and the TDs were way up. So actually, that's pretty damn close. So sorry about that. It's actually pretty close, but if he has the agility drill, so maybe we move him up a little bit. But buyer beware. And in the combine, it didn't look like he can get free as easy. He's got great hands, soft hands, probably the best hands catcher. But buyer beware of a potential boom pick here. And the fifth boom is Alec Pierce. I had a tough time comping Alec Pierce. Because I always thought he was a big slot receiver, but really at the Senior Bowl they were trying him out at the X. So his closest comp to me was Davante Adams from a skill set or a physical traits attribute, and nobody really. It was hard to comp Davante Adams, but Alec Pierce did that. The thing is, Alec Pierce had nowhere near the stats in college as Davante Adams, but Davante Adams' pro season wasn't that great. So what are you really getting with this player? And it could be that the comps are different. So he didn't do the agility drills, and so that's the one thing Devontae Smith has. His agility drills are awesome. So without the agility drills, I can't really say for sure if this is the right comp. But Devontae Smith, so it's different. The fact that straight line speed, Devontae Smith was only a 4.56, and Alex Smith is a 4.41. And I should say, so their height is basically 6'1" versus 6'3". The weight's the same, 212, 211. The arm length's very close. Hand size is 9, which is the same. PFF has Alec Pierce at 12. I have him at 34. So big difference. And so we need the agility drills, but like the vert, Devontae Smith 39.5, Alec Pierce 40.5. Broad jump, Adams 123, Pierce 129. So super athletic, but Devontae, what separates him is 3 cone was 682, his shuttle 430, and his 10 split was 164. So it tells me he's awesome at getting off a man press, and when you watch him, he's the best in the league at it. So that for that reason, but his college stats, Devontae Adams, and it could be the quarterback. I mean, he had Alec Pierce had Ritter, but Devontae had Derek Carr. So receptions 131, over 1,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 13 average. That's insane. So that's what I mean. It falls off for Alec Pierce. He only had 52 receptions for 884, 17 average, which is much better, but the touchdowns are only 8, so not even close. Devontae Adams, the problem with him is, and the reason why the comp gets so low is because what he produced in the NFL his first season, we all know he's great. He's the best in the league. He's number one at PFF's top 25 for 2021, but he only had 38 receptions for 446, 11.7 average, and 3 TDs. So much different there. So what'll happen is Pierce is way down the board, and definitely a potential boom pick. So beware of Alec Pierce, and he could be great if his stats come in different. I could easily cop him to Cooper Kupp if he has a great agility drills, but we shall see. And then the last potential boom I have, and I didn't like doing this one, is Bill Melton, because I really liked him at the Senior Bowl, but I comped him to Deebo Samuel as the closest comp, but he's a lot lighter. Deebo's 5'11", 216. Bill Melton's 5'11", 189, but both 31-inch arms, 10-inch or 9-inch hands, so big hands. 40 times, 4.48, and this is the difference, 4.34. So maybe I don't like the comp because of straight line speed, but the verts were basically the same. The broad jumps were basically the same. And the good thing with Bill Melton is his 3 cone 698, and which is better, 703 I think for Deebo. And so yeah, a lot of things are in his favor here, as far as the agility and the straight line speed and all that. But just the stats alone are very close. 55 receptions versus 57. The yardage though, Debo had 802 and he only had 618, 14.1 average and 11.2. They both had 3 receiving touchdowns, and I did one of the biggest reasons I comped them here is they both have rushing in their background, that type of thing. In college, Debo did a little bit of running, not much, but so did Bo Melton, and so they have that ability to do it. So PFF has Bo Melton at 23, I have him at 39, and I think with the agility, I think he should be much higher than that. I really liked him at the Senior Bowl. In fact, I would pick him around the 5th round because I don't think Rutgers' offense was very good. But just as a comp standpoint, what you got from Debo your first year, you're basically buying the traits here because the first year wasn't great in the pros. I mean, it was good, it wasn't great. But what he's become is great. So, maybe even a 4th round if you're looking for these types of traits. But just buyer beware of where he's kind of projected at right now versus where he might actually go. It's a little bit different. And he did. I'm not sure I love this comp. The biggest reason I put the comp together like this is because I think Bo Melton has a legit chance of being a guy that we could put so many different places and running and have that sort of style of Debo. And their physical traits are similar. He'd have to add a little weight, but a lot of the other things are the same. So that's where it came in. So let's get into the fun stuff. The number one boom picks possibly to take a look at here. And I was really surprised at how this came out. I was shocked. I wasn't sure how this would exactly work. But to me, the biggest boom pick is Utah State's Devinmpkins. Unbelievable talent. PFF has him at 35. I have him at 5. The reason why, I mean, the scary part is 155, 155. I comped him to Tyler Lockett, 5'9", 182, so the weight's a lot different. But, the height's very similar. The speed, Devinmpkins 4.45, Tyler Lockett 4.40. I don't have all the agility, so this might change because Tyler Lockett's agility drills are really good. Devin didn't really do the agility drills or the explosion drills, but the stats in college are amazing. So Tyler Lockett 106 receptions, Devinmpkins 102. Lockett over 1,500 yards, Devinmpkins over 1,700 yards. Lockett 14.3 average, Devin 16.7, and Lockett 11 TDs and Devinmpkins 10 TDs. He scored his overall grade was a 54. His total with Lockett was 84. So he pretty much got his ranking on his own. But he's number one potential boom. I was saying boom for the other guys. It should have been bust the whole time. Sorry about that. Whoops. So potential boom pick here. That screwed up the whole video. I'm not doing it over. You guys understand what I'm saying. Anyways, if you can get over the 155 pounds, you might have a true talent here. The next potential boom pick, I guess, would be Samori Torrey out of Nebraska. So PFF doesn't have him ranked. I have him at 8. And his comp is Mike Evans. 6'3", 190 though, so a lot thinner than Mike Evans, but definitely a big red zone target. He had 46 receptions, 898 yards, 19.5 average. He had 2 red zone touchdowns in the East West Shrine game, and so everybody's looking for that. He had 5 touchdowns, so his stats don't necessarily compare, and he didn't have a combine. So the reason I have him here is because I want to see his pro day mainly, but the way he comped out with his stats compared with Mike Evans and what he can do, this is a projection. I'm not saying he's going to be picked in the 2nd round. This would be a late round pick, but his traits are there, like as far as red zone and things like that, and his stats kind of back it up. So somebody definitely to consider like very late in the draft is everybody's trying to get better in the red zone, and this is definitely a guy that can help you get better in the red zone. But we do need to see his pro day for sure to make sure that he should be on this list. But with a solid pro day, I have no problem putting him on the potential boom list. So there you go. And the number 3 guy is Charleston Rambeau. So somebody to consider. He's comped to CeeDee Lamb, and he comps very favorably. 6'1", 177. His arm lengths are about the same. His college stats are almost if not better, 79 receptions versus 62 on CD. He has over 1,100 yards, 14.5 average, 7 TDs. I mean, the average and the yards are different for CD, but there's very, very good college production. PFF has him at 34. I have him at 10. Um, so definitely somebody to keep an eye on. His biggest deal was at Oklahoma. He couldn't catch. He went to Miami's last year and pulled in 79 receptions, which was the school record. So, and obviously Miami's had some very good receivers, and he had 79 receptions, which is their overall record, which is really good. He's a 4.57 guy, which could hold him back a little bit. CD was a 4.50, but a 33.5 vert, almost the same as CD, and a 118 broad jump. So he doesn't have the necessarily the physical skills. So I want to see the agility from him. But just from a few pure traits and how he plays the game, his college stats compared to that of CD, very, very similar. I mean, CD's first year as a rookie, 79 receptions. Charleston had 79 receptions, just over 1,100 yards, 1,100 yards. Average for CD, 13.9. Charleston, 14.8. Touchdowns for CD in his first year, 6. Charleston, 7. So not far off. So definitely somebody to consider, especially getting into the fourth round if you're looking for that maybe Z or even possible X type receiver, or somebody that can even play in the slot because he's versatile. He can kind of do all of those things that you might want him to do. So somebody to sort of keep an eye on as you're going through the draft process. The next guy, the number 4 possible boom pick, is Isaiah Weston out of Northern Iowa. So yeah, physical traits are fantastic. So something to keep an eye on there. Definitely like what he brings to the table as far as that goes. And really, he was a tough comp for me. For a while, I had him with Devontae Adams. But I sort of did change that up, and I compared him more to T. Higgins, which I don't think was fair because he's a lot faster, and I probably will change the comp. But the vert, everything else is much different than T. Higgins. But the size, 6'3" and a half, 214 was basically the same. The college stats though fall very short. In fact, I'll probably change his comp. But what you're buying here, I think he is more as like Devontae Adams. Now that I kind of look at it a little closer, the vert and the broad jump, everything else is more Devontae Adams ish. The speed is lower than Devontae Adams, but the size and everything else, I probably, he might be actually more like Cooper Kupp, to be honest with you. So I will change his comp, but just keep a heads up for Isaiah Weston. His physical traits are really good, and mainly I wanted to put him on here too because I want to see his agility drills at his pro day. If he's very agile like Cooper Kupp, then we'll probably change it. But PFF has him at 41. I have him at 18, just to give you a reference there on kind of where he's at for me. I think he's definitely got some skills that might translate to the league. And since he's so far down, picking him that low in the draft would make sense to sort of pick the traits, that type of thing. So the next guy we'll take a look at is Makai Polk out of Mississippi State, and he actually comps pretty close to Cooper Kupp. PFF has him at 39. I have him at 22. Kupp 6'2", he's 6'3". Kupp's 204, he's 195. About 31, 32-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands, so very similar. Speed-wise, Kupp was 4.62, he's 4.59. Vert 31, 31. Broad jump 116 versus 119, so very similar there. The 20 shuttle is a little higher than Kupp, 436 versus 408. So something to consider there. I want to see more of Makai's agility drills to see if he has the same sort of agility as Kupp. But for now, it's kind of the best comp situation. So Kupp's receptions in college were 117. Polk's at 102. Yards, Kupp blew it up 1,700. But Makai Polk had over 1,000. He had 9 touchdowns, averaged only 10, so that kind of brought him down. The average Kupp's 14.5 and 17 touchdowns, but still a very solid season. I think it compares fairly decently to him. I think they could do some of the same things. He might be more of a Z than maybe all-purpose kind of guy like Kupp. So we'll see on the comp, but it's definitely somebody to keep an eye on as a potential boom type player. I think he's a little bit too low on PFS. I would probably bring him up a little bit more, and the numbers kind of suggest that should be the case. Um, Anyways, the next guy on the list of a potential boom type player is kind of getting slept on is Braylon Sanders. Um, Sort of a bigger guy than you realize. 6 foot 194. I have him comped to CD 6'2", 198. The hands are about length's about the same. The hands actually, he's got 10-inch hands, so he's got the bigger hands. The speed's about the same as CD. CD's 4.5. He's 4.48 on Braylon. The vert's exactly the same, 34.5, and the broad jump's almost the same, 124 versus 121. So the physical ability is basically about the same. The problem with Braylon Sanders, he just didn't have the production as far as targets or receptions. He only had 24 for 549, which is underwhelming, but the average is fantastic. CD's average in his last year of college is 21.4, and Braylon Sanders is 22.9. So he's a big play dude. Didn't quite have the touchdowns or any of the production, like I said, but as far as the average goes and the physical makeup, this is somebody that shouldn't be slept on. I think he's a little too low. PFF has him at 40. I have him at 25, which is probably about right, which is basically the end of the sixth round. Um, or no, I'm sorry, end of the fifth round or top of the sixth round is kind of where it would be at. So somebody to kind of keep an eye on. I think he's got a lot more potential than number 40 overall receiver. And finally, round out the list here is Devin Williams. Devin Williams PFF doesn't have him ranked. And I have him at 33, which is draftable. Seventh round guy. Again, I compared him to Mike Williams, 6'5", 210. Mike Williams, 6'4", 208. Obviously, Mike Williams just got paid, so it's no joke. And big target, over 9-inch hands, 34-inch length, so even more length than Williams at 33. Wingspan 81 for Devin Williams. Mike Williams is 78. So speed-wise, Williams was 4.54, and Devin Williams, was 4.65. So that's a bit of a problem there. The verts are almost the same for these guys. The broad jump though, Devin Williams is more explosive at 133 versus Mike Williams at 122. The college stats though, just not the targets. He only had 35 receptions. Mike Williams in college had 98. The yards isn't close. The average is pretty close, 14 versus 15.9. So the production just wasn't there. But the physical makeup, the physical traits are all there for Devin Williams. And obviously Mike Williams just got paid. He was in 2021 the 19th receiver for PFF, and he just got a $20 million a year contract. So this skill set is very valuable. And so at 6'5", a little taller, a little longer, about the same weight, a little touch slower, but all the other measurables are about the same. Just the production wasn't there from Oregon. But for me, this is definitely somebody to keep an eye on as a potential boom player. So again, if you like the content, please let me know. Like, subscribe, share it, make comments. Let me know if you want me to do another position group. And I'll sort of round out the rest of the comps for everybody. And this is kind of the longer part of the video. I'm sorry it's so long, but yeah, I'll go through pretty quickly. So my number one, it was by far is Jameson Williams. He comped to Jamar Chase. Obviously, it's a projection on my part, but from a production standpoint, an athletic standpoint, I think he's the only one that comes close. Jamar Chase was PFF's number one overall, so he definitely gets the nod there. And then, let's see here. Then next was, I'll give you Justin Ross. I have him at 9. PFF has him at 10. I comp him to Mike Evans. So definitely a second-round pick for me. And Raider fans, I know they met with him, so keep an eye out for that. Another guy that comped very well in my projection was Treylon Burks. He was number 2. So Jameson Williams had 123 points, just to let you know. Treylon Burks had 100, and so nobody else reached 100. So these are definitely the 2 top receivers. And he comps very, very similarly to A.J. Brown as far as physical attributes, the size, length, everything else. The stats in college were very close. So PFF has Treylon at 5. I have him at 2. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. Next, we're talking about Garrett Wilson. PFF has him at 2. I have him at 4. I comp him very similar to Keenan Allen. So height about the same. The weight's off, and that's why Wilson, one of the reasons why he's down. I'm not sure if he can handle the press coverage, but the Keenan Allen didn't have a combine, so it's sort of a projection on my part. But the college production was fairly similar. And I think they're both going to get moved around the line of scrimmage, play a lot in the slot. I think the play style is very similar, so I think that's a pretty solid comp. Keenan Allen was number 10 for PFF's top 25 in 2021. So that's no slight there. Definitely puts Wilson as a first round receiver. So I have confidence with that one. Next, we have Jalen Tolbert, who for me is number 3 receiver. PFF has him at number 9. I call him Justin Jefferson. I think they have a very similar play style. Again, a little underweight, but length, size, everything is about comparable. The 40's a little off. Justin's 4.43, Jalen's 4.49, but everything else comps about the same. And the agility, like Jalen Tolbert's 7.08, so very good 3-cone. College production, although it's not quite Justin Jefferson, nobody really is. Jalen Tolbert's college production is awesome. 82 receptions, over 1,400 yards. And what I really like about him, it's different. That's way better than Justin Jefferson. Is average 18 average. So big time, big play guy. And I think he'll have a similar play style in the NFL as Justin. So Jalen Tolbert's my number 3 overall. So then we'll go to let's see. We talked about those guys. Lee Carter. PFF has him at 31. I have him at 40, so it's pretty much the same. I mean, I have him comped to CD Lamb, so real late round pick if you want to get CD Lamb type size and traits, just without the production and fanfare, that type of thing. He's 6'3", 195, so he's a big dude. Maybe possible late round pick or UDFA style player. The next guy I'll talk about is my number 13 overall in PFS 14 is John Mechie. I comp him to Jaylen Waddle. A little bit more height for Mechie, 5'11 versus 5'9.5 maybe. But the weight's about the same. The length's about the same. The hand size and all that. Obviously no combine for Mechie, but college production, obviously Mechie way outdid Waddle. So I think Mechie is a top second round guy. Personally, I think he's one of the best receivers in the draft. He had a great college career, just got hurt. 96 receptions, over 1,100 yards, but only 11 average. It's a little concerning. That's kind of like Waddle. Waddle at 18.5 average in college, but in pros, he had 9. So his rookie season, Waddle's was really, really good. 104 receptions, 1,000 yards, but only a 9.8 and then 6 touchdowns. So a little underwhelming there. So, I mean, I could see Mechie actually physically, obviously, he played the exact same thing at Alabama, but he did it better than Waddle. I could see Mechie going in the first round because of that, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I think solidly, obviously at 13, I have him in the third round, which is not right, but he probably will be a second round pick. PFF does have him at 14, though. I have him at 13, so it's pretty much spot on what they had. The next guy, I have Kevin Austin, who I really like. I think he should be a third round pick, and I would definitely gobble him up with his physical traits. But I comped him to Terry McLaurin. The straight line speed, not quite the same, but the agility is actually in Austin's favor. But the 3-cone was really good, actually better than Terry McLaurin. And the 20 shuttle at 4.15 was exactly the same as Terry McLaurin. I had Kevin Austin comp to Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, 6'2", 200 pounds, great length. He's got length, 32, almost 33-inch arms, 9-inch hands. His college production wasn't quite up to what some of these other guys was, but McLaurin's, it was somewhat comparable. Receptions, 38 for McLaurin, or 35, 48 for Austin. The yardage, 888 for Austin, 701 for McLaurin. The average was killer. McLaurin's 20, but Austin 18.5. The touchdowns, only 7. So Jack Cohn maybe is to blame for some of this stuff. And PFF has him at 21. I have him at 17. Personally, I think he's a top 15 receiver, no question. I would take him in the third round if I was in need of a receiver, especially an X-type receiver, because he plays the X role really well. His agility is really good. So I think he's potentially one of the biggest boom players in the draft, personally. So keep an eye out for Kevin Austin, really good player. So next guy I'll talk about real quick is Johan Dodson. You probably wonder where he's at. PFF has it at 7. I'm at 14. I comped him to Tyler Lockett. A little taller than Lockett, about the same size, same length, almost same hands, same speed almost. The vert's about the same. A lot of the same attributes, except the 3-cone for me with Tyler Lockett, 6'8", and Dodson was only a 7'2", so a little concerning there. We don't have the vert numbers. And so, yeah. So the vert's about Lockett 35.5 and Johan Dodson 36. We don't have the broad jump, sorry, for Lockett. But 121, it's pretty good. It's good, right? College production is about the same. 91 receptions for Dodson, 106 for Lockett, 1,500 yards though for Lockett, and only 11 over 1,100 for Dodson, which is concerning. The average is about the same, 14 versus 13. Touchdowns 11 and 12. So I think the comp's pretty solid. I think you kind of know what you're getting. Tyler Lockett was number 12 on PFF's top 25 list for 2021, Pro Bowler in his rookie season. So, I mean, Dodson's probably a second round player. You just have him comped a little lower. Um, for me, I'm closer with personally. I like PFS ranking a little bit better for Dodson. I definitely think he's a second round player. And the next guy we'll talk about then is Dontario Drummond. I haven't comped to DeAndre Hopkins. And yeah, pretty close speed wise. Hopkins was only 4.57. Drummond's 4.65. PFF has him at 29. I have Drummond 29 too. 6'1", 215. Hopkins 6'1", 214. Hopkins has more length. The hand size is about the same. And yeah, so very, very similar type of athletes. We don't have the agility drills, which I was kind of waiting on, but broad jump actually, Drummond's much better, much more explosive. Vertical, Hopkins actually had the advantage there. So, but we need the agility drills to confirm the comp. But reception wise in college, Hopkins 82 versus 76. Hopkins 1,400 yards versus a little over 1,000 for Drummond. Average, Hopkins is much better there. 17 versus 13 and touchdowns 18 versus 8. So not quite the college production, but a lot of the physical traits for Drummond are there. Definitely, I think definitely a draftable player. Next guy, Eric Uzakama, similar size as Hopkins, similar as well as agility and ability. The 40 is about the same. Vert's about the same. A little bit more explosion from Azukama. The shuttle 4.38, and Hopkins 4.50. So even a better shuttle. College stats. Let's see here. 48 receptions, so definitely a lot less as far as the stats, and that's kind of why he's down for me even a little bit too. So PFF has him at 37, I have him at 38, so the comp is I think right on. PFF and me are again about the same here. And the next guy we'll talk about is David Bell. PFF having 17, I have at 27. So we need to see his agility a little bit more at 4.57, and Hopkins is 4.5. They're about the same size player, and the college production is really good for Bell. 93 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 13.8 average, 6 touchdowns. So really solid. Just a 4.65, only a 33 vert, which is pretty much Hopkins, right? 36, so not quite as explosive. And the broad jump was 118 versus 111, so about the same. The 3-cone drill's off though, 714. So a little off. So very similar player to and actually I don't even like my ranking for him. I think he's going to be a second or third round receiver just because he got such good body control, such good hands, good route runner. I think he is a little bit like DeAndre Hopkins, sorry. 76 wingspan versus 80 for Hopkins. No, I think the player he should be probably a third rounder. Let's see his pro day. See how some of the numbers might change. If he gets that 40 down a little bit more, then maybe we'll get him a little bit higher. So next on the list, I have Ty Freifrogel. I won't go into him much. I have him way down. So does PFF. Mike Woods again. I have him comped to Chris Godwin. Both these guys comped to Godwin. Both lower, but both maybe draftable just because of some of the physical traits they might bring. I have one of the guys I have is Wan'Dale Robinson to Brandon Cooks. I have him at 15. PFF has him at 18. He had one of the highest individual scores at a 50. So on his own, his crazy. But he comes very, very close to Brandon Cooks. It's just Brandon Cooks' rookie season wasn't that great. He had 53 sessions for 550 yards. But his college season was tremendous. And so when I looked at it, so what translates immediately? Brandon Cook's skill set did not translate immediately. It could be a lot of reasons for that. But Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't have the straight line speed, only a 4.44 and a 4.33 for Brandon Cooks. So we're missing that straight line speed. But the broad jump 121 versus 118, somewhat similar. But the college stats just pop off the page, especially receiving, rushing. They do a lot of the same things. So I'm pretty comfortable. If I picked Wandale at the end of the third round at 15, sometimes it takes a while for these types of players, Brandon Cooks and Tyreek Hills of the world, for the for the offense coordinators to even understand what they have. So I think that's a pretty solid comp. I think it's a pretty solid selection. And end of the third, top of the fourth for Wandale, I think would be a very, very good selection. The next I have Calvin Austin again, comp to Tyreek Hill. It almost comps like crazy how the agility and but Calvin Austin has the stats, so it was hard to do this comp from the stats standpoint because Tyreek Hill is pretty much used as a running back, uh, and obviously we know what he is now in the NFL. It took a while to figure out, so similar to that of Wandale, it might take a minute for the offensive coordinator to figure out how to use him. But Calvin Austin's college stats are stupid: 74 receptions, over 1,100 yards, over 15. Average and 8 touchdowns. So I have him at 6, and PFF has him at 15. So I'm much higher because of the stats on Calvin Austin, and his physical ability is tremendous. So, uh, for me, day two, second round pick, and they have him at third round pick. So whatever. Is what it is, but I think he's going to be a tremendous player. Just has to have a good offense coordinator, like somebody like they did with Tyreek Hill, to figure out how to use him. The next guy I have is Devin Williams. Oh, I already talked about him. Sorry. Um, next is let's see here, Romeo Dobbs. I have him comp to. Well, did I comp him there? Hold on to Romeo. I think I have him comp somewhere slightly. Oh no, I didn't. I have him comp to Cooper Cup. I have him pretty highly ranked too on my standings. And PFF doesn't necessarily have him as high as I do. I'm pretty high on Romeo. Shoot, I just lost my rankings. Sorry about that. I'll find that for you here in a minute. But yeah, so the stats are really good. 80 receptions. The physical traits for Romeo Dobbs are really good. And let's see here. Where do I have him? I have him at number 17 or number 7. I'm sorry. It's a solid second round. PFF has him at 16. But I think as a guy you can move around a lot like Cup. The yards. In college, Cup was 14 and a half. He's 13.9, 11 touchdowns versus 17, 80 receptions versus 117. Cup got a lot more targets, but Romeo Dobbs is right in there for me as a solid second round receiver. PFF has him more as a third or early fourth round receiver. I'm just a little higher on him. And so he had some drop issues, but I think he can get cleaned up. So once that does, you got an explosive player. And we don't have the combine results, so the comp might change. So once I get the pro day numbers, that's somebody that may change, may move up or down even. Who knows? Next receiver I have is Sky Moore. PFF is really higher on him at 6. I have him at 12, so still second, high third pick. But I have him to Stefan Diggs, 6'1" or 6 foot on Diggs, 5'10" or more, about exact same weight, about the same length. Hand size, they're both 10 plus. So I mean, it's kind of right there. Sky Moore's a little faster, 4.41 versus 4.46, but the vert's about the same. The physical attributes are a lot the same. The shuttle, 4.32 for Diggs, 4.32 for Sky Moore. The 3-cone, 7.13 for Sky Moore, 7.03 for Diggs. The college stats, though, Sky Moore has crushed them. So I think Sky Moore is a solid second round pick. I think he's gonna be a good pro. It's just another thing is Stefan Diggs, his rookie season, 62 receptions, 792, 12.8. So that's kind of what's holding Sky Moore from being even higher is Stefan Diggs didn't translate as much to the pros, but still, I think a solid second round pick for Sky Moore is. I like PFS ranking better than I like my ranking on him. So just a heads up on that. And then Reggie Roberson, PFF has him at 25. I have him at 37. His physical attributes isn't doing his 29 vert, 114 broad jump just was down, but I have him to Stefan Diggs as well, just for the height standpoint and length, and the receptions. He has 6 touchdowns. It was very good production. 12.5 average is kind of like Diggs. So I'm not saying he was not draftable. At 37, there were 37 receivers drafted in 2020. So he's kind of right there, just sort of a back end type of guy for me. See, the comp I really like here is Dixon. I have him at 24. PFF has him at 33. So I'm a little higher, and I think I'm a little higher even more than that. But I comped him to St. Brown, about the same size. Reception wise, in college, almost the same yardage, almost the same average, and almost the same touchdowns. It's almost the same player. Dixon did really good at the Shrine Bowl, and so he played in the Hula Bowl too. He's really good there. So very, very good player. I'm actually a little higher on him than even 24. I would like to see him. 24 is kind of the end of the fifth round. So, I'd like to see him closer to the top or even at the end of the fourth round. I think he's a very, very good player. Next comp is Kyle Phillips. PFF has him at 20. I only have him at 34. He's Hunter Renfro 2.0. I mean, everything's almost the same. I'm just a little lower on him than PFF, but I actually probably like PFF's grade better. So I would stick with PFF's grade there than for me. Slade Bolden, PFF 36, me 43. I think that's fine. He's basically Hunter Renfro-ish too. And Johnny Johnson out of Oregon, PFF 30, me 30, me 28. So basically the same. Back end slot typer guy, just somebody to kind of keep an eye on out of Oregon. Again, a few different slot type receivers that obviously slot's big. A lot of teams are now putting emphasis on the slot receivers, so I could see these guys all as draftable players. And Kyle Phillips is maybe the most like Hunter Renfro, so if you're looking for that, that would probably be your guy. Another guy got comp to Debo, and maybe not so much for the. Oh, he does definitely has a rushing is Trey Turner. PF has him at 30. I have him at 30. Uh, so definitely a top 7 round type pick. A lot of the same attributes, a lot of the same size, physical skills, things like that as a Debo. So if you're looking for a next Debo, I think Bo Melton and Trey Turner are kind of right in the wheelhouse there for you. And the PFF and my rankings were exactly the same. Um, so we'll start almost done. So if you like, please like, share, subscribe. If you like the content, let me know on the comps where I'm at. DK Metcalf is another guy I comp to Christian Watson. This one was tough. Uh, PFF has Watson at 11. I am at 16. I actually like PFF's grade a little higher. The reason I have these two before you guys flip out is not necessarily because I know physically they're different. They're 20 pounds different, but athletically, neither one of them have a comp. There aren't too many 6'2" and a quarter guys at 228 running a 4.33. In fact, there aren't any. Um, but there's also 6'4", 208 running a 4.36. There aren't any of those either. But the rest of the physical attributes, a lot of it is the same except the weight. A little longer for Watson, but the length 82 for DK, 77 for Watson. The straight line speed 4.33 versus 4.36 for Watson. The vert 40.5 versus 38.5 for Watson. The project 136 versus 134. So again, amazing. The shuttle 4.5. I mean, just all kinds of things about the same. Uh, the one that got my eye the most was the 10 split. It was 148 for DK and 148 or 146. Sorry for Watson. The 10 split for me tells me that he can get off of press covers because it's just quick, so fast off the line. And so I actually like PFF's better. In fact, I like Watson in the second round. My grade I think was a little low just because of the production. Both of them didn't have great college production. So 43 receptions for only 800 yards, but 18 average. So DK's 26 receptions. I don't know what happened at 569 yards, but 21 average, 5 TDs. So big time, big play, right? 21 average, 18 average for Watson. It translated fairly well. 15 receptions for DK, 900 yards, 15 and a half average, 7 TDs his rookie season. So I think it's a solid comp minus the weight. So just a heads up on that. I think he's a second round receiver. Let's see here. There's those guys. I think I screwed up David. Well, David Bell at T. Higgins. I don't like that comp. I already talked about it, but that was a poor comp on my part. We'll change him eventually. The next guy is Velos Jones. I really wanted him to be higher. PFF has him at 25. I have him at 35. Um, Me personally, I like him in the third round, just as watching him in the Senior Bowl or a fourth round maybe. late third, early fourth. I think he's going to be a really good Z type receiver. I comped him to Darrell Mooney. I think their stats are a lot, their physical attributes are a lot. But Darrell Mooney turned out to be a good Z receiver. He'd be a lot better with a better quarterback. So I mean, if I needed a number two or a backup third receiver, whatever, Velos Jones, especially the um, I didn't do special teams, but he's got that as well. So I really like Velos Jones a lot more than I my stats say, and even more than PFF. But he's just down. I thought a lot of it has to do with the production and his comp for me. And when I did the metrics, his comp didn't do as well. But I think we all know Mooney. I think is a lot better player than what his rookie season even came out to be. I think he's a better quarterback, to be honest with you. The next guy, Justin Ross, who in my grading is really high. Actually, I think I already went over him if I'm not mistaken. But if not, Justin Ross, I have him as receiver 9. PFF has him receiver 10. I think he comps to Mike Evans as well. So just something to consider. They both had good college stats. I mean, they're a similar player. I really like Justin Ross. Actually, did I? I think I might have comped Justin Ross somewhere different. Anyways, it's getting long. Almost done. One more. Alec Pierce, we already talked about him. So that rounds out everybody for me of kind of how I have everybody ranked. So my number one receiver is Jameson Williams. Number 2 is Burks. Number 3 is Tolbert. Number 4 is Wilson. Number 5 is Devinmpkins. Number 6 is Calvin Austin. Number 7 is Romeo Dobbs. 8, Samori Torrey. 9, Justin Ross. 10, Charleston Rambeau. 11, Chris Olave. 12, Sky Moore. 13, John Mechie. 14, Justin Austin. 15, Wandale Robinson. 16 is Christian Watson. 17, Kevin Austin. 18, Isaiah Watson. Oh, I forgot. 19 for me is Tyquan Thornton, and PFF has him at 24. So, very, very similar. I actually skipped over a few guys. Javian Hiley is number 20 for me, and PFF has him at 20. Very good receivers. Um, so some guys to sort of keep an eye on there. And I'm sorry I passed them over when I did the comps and things like that. So I'll probably do another video just to kind of go over, clean that up a little bit. 21, Drake London. 22, Makai Polk. 23, George Pickens. 24, Jajeen Dixon. 25, Braylon Sanders. I forgot Danny Gray, too, is 26. PFF had him at 26, so the comp was about the same. David Bell, 27 for me. That's potential bust there. Johnny Johnson. Then at 29 is Dontario Drummond. 30, Josh Johnson. 31, Trey Turner. 32, Khalil Shakir. 33, Devin Williams. 34, Kyle Phillips. 35, Alec Pierce. Ooh, ouch. 36, Velos Jones. That's a tough one. Reggie Roberson, 37. Eric Azuma, 38. Melton, 39. Malik Carter, 40. Stanley Berryhill, 41. Arizona led Arizona last 2 seasons in receptions. Jalen Naylor from Michigan State, 42. Sky Bolden, 43. Ty Frogel, 43. And then rounding it out is Mike Woods. So that's kind of my receivers there. Kind of how the metrics ranked them. Obviously, the drafting is going to be different, but definitely have some potential boom or bust type players. And again, please like, share, subscribe. Sorry, I started out the video mixing up the boom and bust. Hopefully, you figured out what I meant by that. But definitely some receivers that you can get late in the draft that could have some serious potential. And thanks for joining channel today. Have a good day.